This meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar to allow for public participation and comments. The for all members of our community and create an atmosphere where everyone feels a sense of safety and belonging. We ask that anyone who wishes to speak does so with civility, respect, and kindness for others. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organizations, but providing such information is voluntary. Citizens participating in person wishing to speak should submit a public speaker card to the clerk. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice on the meeting agenda will be provided to the members. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand in Zoom or submit a public speaker card, and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Okay, if we could have roll call, please.
Commissioner Carlson?
Here.
Commissioner Fideli?
Here.
Commissioner Haskew? Here. Commissioner Hernandez-Thorpe?
Here.
Commissioner Kelly? Here. Commissioner Meadows?
Here.
Commissioner/Representative Nowak?
Here.
Commissioner Perkins?
Here.
Commissioner Gee for Sauce?
Here.
Vice Chair Arnridge?
Here.
Chair /Representative Glover?
Here.
Representative Foley?
Present.
Representative Peoples is attending virtually as part of the public.
Okay, thank you. Next item, if you would all rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our next item on the agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on things that falls within the purview of the committee, but it's not on tonight's agenda. Anyone in the room? Okay. Do we have any remote?
No public comment, written or remote.
Okay. So the next thing on our agenda is that we're going to be adjourning into a closed session. And so if everyone could convene in the Diablo room, conference room, and we will be returning.
Recording stopped.
Okay, we're back. The board has been
Recording
meeting.
in progress.
Okay, we're back from closed session and we have no report outs. So now we're back in open session, and at this time, on our agenda, we have election of chair and vice chair for 2024. We do have a rotation process that's in place, and we can go with with that, or we can also accept nominations. So,
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to nominate Newell Arnridge for chair and Lamar Hernandez Thorpe for vice chair.
Second.
okay. Do we have any other nominations? Seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please. Oh,
Public comment?
public comment. And no members in the room coming forward? Do we have any remote?
No public comment.
Okay.
Commissioner Carlson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fideli?
Aye.
Commissioner Gee?
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew?
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez Thorpe?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Meadows?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Chair Arnridge?
Aye.
Chair Glover?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and since I haven't had an opportunity to do this very much, I will turn the meeting to the chair.
It goes fast. Well, it's now the time to, and I think this is very special. Not only is this Federal's last time to be chair, he was also, for those of you that have not been around very long, he was the first county representative to ever be chair, because when CCTA was originally formed, part of this agreement was that the chair did not get a rotation through the county. And those rules were changed, and it happened to be, Federal has done this twice. And before I present you with a proclamation, I just want to say another couple of things. He's the longest serving person on CCTA. If you were here when we were doing Measure J, this man was one of the most instrumental in formulating what this plan was going to accomplish. It was also something that if you knew Federal, you learned a new side. When he felt it was the right thing to do, he didn't budge. And he got to the point, he was worried about the disposition of the Concord Naval Weapons Station, Highway 4, what were we going to do? It was just a tragedy what was happening in traffic in those days. And it took a lot of meetings. We had, parallel to that was the renewal of the urban limit line, which was really an integral part of the process. And Federal was the one who was steadfast, but had the wisdom to pull it together and keep us together. And I remember we were sitting on opposite sides of the room, and some of us were saying, well, let's just get a show of hands to agree. And he says, we're not doing that. We're not done. That's not fair to just use room dynamics of we're all for it and you're against it. And he cautiously and quietly convinced us to take a step back and reevaluate things. And the reason why we're sitting here today, because of the success of Measure J. And you know that this man is sitting here because of the miracle of medicine. We were worried that we were going to lose Federal at one point in time. And here is this man who looks healthier than most of us and has went through just extraordinary things and came back even stronger in many ways. A lot of the programs, though, that he advocated for were to help those to make sure that transportation, which we had never looked at, it was just about building things. And there was no sense of what we call equity today. We weren't quite saying equity in those days, but we're looking at it, how do we make sure that transportation is accessible? And Federal had some incredible ideas of how we could change this. And people looked at him and said, well, what do roads have to do with this? Well, it's transportation, it's all of these. And as you know, the majority of our money goes to programs, and the programs are what make this county different. He's also the one who's been through now 2 negotiations of creating Momentum and now Next Gen. And that legacy will be here beyond all of us. And I just want to say personally, having to really get to work with you back when we started Measure J, it's been an honor, a pleasure. On behalf of your whole board here, I know that we share the same value of your cautious wisdom that we all should remember. We should remember it because in the heat of the storm, you react in calmness to get people to be thoughtful and purposeful in what they're trying to accomplish. So it is my pleasure to, if I could, read this very quickly. A proclamation recognizing Federal Glover for his dedicated service to the authority as chair from February 2023 through February 2024. Federal Glover was first CCTA chair representing, as I said, Contra Costa County. He led the authority with enthusiasm, respect, diplomacy, and contributed to a noteworthy year, which included the advancement of the Mokelumne Trail bicycle and pedestrian overcrossing, shared mobility hubs, the Safety Action Plan, and during his chairmanship, CCTA secured $105 million, which a lot of it went to him, not you, the other guy, for safer walking, biking in Contra Costa County. Launched Presto, Bishop Ranch, which we just saw as we came out of our room there on those videos. Kicked off our integrated transit plan, led our first community event series, and through his leadership, CCTA advanced its priority to accessible transportation with a new low-income fare equity life program, to provide mobility to low-income disabled users, advanced the expansion of ferry service to the northern waterfront, and developed a vision to expand Momentum Station to support economic development in the northern waterfront and Contra Costa County. This was also an important year that CCTA embarked on CCTA 4.0 as an exciting and ambitious roadmap for the future and advancing CCTA, including executing our first public-private partnership agreement for dynamic personal microtransit in East Contra Costa County. It is with gratitude that we recognize Federal Glover's leadership as chair and steadfast commitment to the delivery of Contra Costa's programs and projects. Federal, thank you. We have 2 things. One, a surprise in a box, and a video. So if you'd like to open this, and then we are going to play a video for you here. I must say, this is one I would not recommend that you hit the gavel. It's all for show. It's a crystal gavel. And now, before we hear your comments, can we play the video, please?
I use the paratransit rides for my freedom. It gives me the freedom to go where I want to go and when I want to go.
Paratransit for me is a lot of help for me because I don't have no family out here in California. I can really pin on for help and stuff like that. Better for me to have the transportation where I won't have to try to pin on a family member take me here or do this.
It's a service that's just outstanding for the fact that I cannot make it to the bus stops, and they come to my house, they pick me up, and they take me home.
Paratransit is a door-to-door service, accessible transportation for individuals who have disabilities and are unable to ride the regular fixed route city bus. The Paratransit Life program is a low-income fare equity program for our paratransit customers who qualify, and they would receive 5 free round trips per month to use on any paratransit trips that they choose.
The Paratransit Life program is a collaboration of several partners: Contra Costa County, Contra Costa Transportation Authority, and the 3 transportation agencies. That's WestCat, County Connection, and Tri-Delta.
It's important to support free fares for paratransit riders because we live in an unequal world. And every day, Tri-Delta Transit and the Contra Costa Transportation Authority work diligently to ensure that we're bringing some level of equitable access through free fares to our residents.
CCTA is supporting the Paratransit Life program because it really is government at its best. You know, providing transportation to those who need it most is really important. It's just woven into the quality of life for those who need to access services.
Paratransit is very important, and it's nice to highlight the great work that's taken place down through the years, and particularly getting our elderly or people with disabilities to either healthcare centers or other services that they need.
I use the Paratransit Life program to take me to and from my doctor's appointments, grocery shopping. 5 days a week I ride it.
I can go visit my friends, or I can go to a restaurant. So I thank God for paratransit because it has been a lifesaver for me.
This life program is really important. We want to make sure that we're maintaining people's independence and overcoming the barriers that exist in providing mobility for all, making sure people are able to maintain their quality of life.
If you or a loved one are interested in knowing if you're eligible for the Paratransit Life program, just contact your local bus operator.
Well, thank you. I ran for county supervisor because of transportation. The gridlock on Highway 4, so many other pieces. Thank you. I'm extremely thankful. It's been my honor, my pleasure to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Federal. And the good news is, he's not going anywhere for 10 and a half months. But we do just want to add all those wonderful things. And again, we're losing a lot of institutional knowledge. So for those of you that have been here for a while, spend some time, call him up, go out to lunch with him. Find out his thoughts and why we have all these. This was an example of one program, but there's a lot of other things that he has had a hand in, and a great resource, so thank you. Thank you. Well, this is a night we have opportunity to thank 2 other people. And can I ask Mayor of San Ramon, Dave Hudson, to please join us up here? So many of you know Dave Hudson. I've known Dave Hudson since he started his elected life more than 2 decades ago in San Ramon. But Dave has been on CCTA for a long time. And I'll tell you this as a joke. If you know Dave well enough, and you haven't seen him for a month, and he walks up to you and he starts talking, what you have to realize is He's finishing the conversation that he had with you a month ago. And he expects you to remember what you were talking about, because he does not forget what he was telling you about and what he found out and why. And it was just a wonderful asset. I remember in the beginning, I said, Dave, what are you talking about? Well, don't you remember? We did, and he'd give you the details and words for words. So, Dave, we're grateful for your 12 years of service here at CCTA, including 2 terms as chair. And during his time, he was a champion of innovation. He helped us launch our autonomous vehicles in San Ramon. He was a leader in the development of the Bollinger Canyon Road Iron Horse Bicycle Trail. That's a long word. The overcrossing that became our bridge, which was really a multimodal bridge, which is designed for the future. And actually, that section where it's going over is actually a little bit wider than 680 at that point. It's their major arterial road in San Ramon. And it's a really wonderful example. We're about a third of the way through the project. It's a public-private partnership, and we don't have change orders on it, and we don't have all of these pointed fingers. It's a really great example. And City of San Ramon, under Dave's leadership, was willing to do it on this one and take the chance. He supported, obviously our Measure J was instrumental in helping create for our area a program that modeled, we call it Traffics, as in fixed traffics. It's a school bus program because our communities in San Ramon Valley were built around neighborhood schools. The neighborhoods got overbuilt and congestion was horrible. That program leaves 1.2 million car trips in a 9-month period off our roads because of that. We're grateful to Dave for his leadership. He was always first to get to Washington to help us advocate for money. And as you know, that's our agency's history. We're almost 4 to 1 for every dollar we get, where we got $2 billion for the voters. We've gotten almost another $4.5 to $6 billion by the time we're done over that period of time. And it's because of leadership like federal and others that we are an agency, as we came up with a mantra, promises made, promises kept. And our agency is really well known for that. So Dave, I have a proclamation, and I sort of gave you the short version of this, but I'll hold this up so we can kind of see it on camera. But Dave, I'm going to come over and hand this to you. And again, we just want to say thank you for all your work.
Thank you. And rather than give you a speech, I just would like to piggyback on something Newell said about Federal Glover, because what a gift we had, not only here at CCTA, but at MTC for years. Whenever somebody was trying to take it away, Federal was there to make sure they didn't. I hope I get this memory correct. You may not remember, but I think we were sitting next to each other when it was a joint meeting with ABAG and MTC to do the final vote on One Bay Area. And Scott Wiener wanted to make a presentation at the 11th hour, typical take it away from the little pea shooter, which is also one of our nicknames, and send it over to San Francisco so they can get all the money. You don't get that stuff through Federal Glover. And he's not asleep when this stuff goes on. I was, but he wasn't. So Federal, thank you very much for always being there. And thank all of you. Of all the seats I've had to give up, this is the one I miss the most, except for tonight. I don't miss the closed sessions. I'm sorry. Thank you, Manuel.
Dave, thank you. And this, I'm going to bring this over to you. This is just a recognition for your shelf of many accomplishments, Dave. Thank you. As many of you know, like Federal, Dave has decided not to run for re-election. So this is our goodbye. He will also be finishing his office, his term as mayor through November of this year. So Dave, we wish you all the best. And now we have online one more person to recognize, and she's been patiently waiting, and we're sorry our session took so long. But Teresa is It's just really a joy. When she got on the council in Lafayette, it was such a positive change and a positive influence. Her work, not only as a council member, but in working with some of our other elected officials, also helped build some bridges that were sorely needed. But Teresa has been a champion of how to have conversations like federal over difficult subjects and come to a consensus. And Teresa's always done that, in my view, with her patience, her incredible charm, and just the way you approach talking to people. You're an incredibly good listener, which is something we all admire so much. But we're grateful, Teresa, for your 5 years of service to Contra Costa Transportation, including serving as chair during a very difficult time where we went completely virtual for the COVID-19 pandemic. She also led through the adoption of the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plan, the adoption of the Vision Zero Implementation Guide, and during her time, CCTA secured numerous grants, upgraded our financial rating to AAA status, and saving the taxpayers millions of dollars as we refinanced and got these more attractive rates. Also, she was very supportive of programs for students, and again, she helped launch the Femineers program at Ignacio Valley High School in Concord. And I want to say it again, I can't understate Teresa's role in helping us when she was working with our other elected officials of building bridges that we kind of had, but they weren't as robust, to say. So Teresa, on behalf of your fellow board, we just want to say thank you. And we have two gifts for you, which is also, which we will get to you, is also a proclamation recognizing that, and as well for your shelf of many well-deserved glass ones. This one, I think we would all like to see, which is about CCTA and your tenure here. Teresa, so on behalf of your board, thank you so much.
Well, I'll just be brief as well. I do want to say thank you. When you read those off, it makes it sound like one person doing all kinds of things, but we all know that it's really the incredible staff at CCTA. And so I do want to thank everybody who, I can't see them on camera right now, but I know that they're sitting there in the room. And as we as authority board members know, they make us all look good and make it look like that it's easy to do. And so I want to thank my colleagues and federal and Commissioner Chair Glover. I just want to say thank you very much. I think Newell summarized it. And Dave Hudson, what an honor to be able to be here and be recognized at the same time as two longtime individuals committed to doing good in Contra Costa County. So thank you all very much. I'm going to go back to enjoying snow and a cozy cabin in
You definitely are there, aren't you? Look at that's a log cabin you're in.
It is a log cabin, yes. So anyway, I'm going to hang out for a little bit, but then please know that I will miss you, but I am not going to stay for the whole meeting.
We can understand that. Thank you, Teresa. Other commissioners would like to make comments or anything with federal or Dave or Teresa? Yes.
I'll just make some brief comments. I want to thank all three of them. I've served with MTC, with federal, which has been tremendous, and Dave on County Connection Board as well. I could always count on that conversation to start because I was the second one at the meeting usually. And Teresa has just been a great friend through all that and through this whole process, and a great person to bounce ideas off. So I just want to thank all three of them for their contribution and my relationships with all of them. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, Chris.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Sue said and thank all of you individually. Teresa, I learned so much from you, not only through a friendship, but you were chair of CCTA before I became chair. And so you were kind of a model for me. So thank you very much for that. And Federal, thank you for your steady leadership here at CCTA. It's been really, really important and impressive for all of us. And people out there may not know how much you do, but we know here that you do a great deal. And lastly, to Dave Hudson. Dave, we miss you, but we're so glad you could show up tonight and really glad to see that you're continuing right now in San Ramon. So all three of you, yes, again, thank you very, very much.
I just wanted to add a quick note. I just got text from Amy Worth and Julie Pierce, just wanting to make sure that they thanked you as well. They've been watching, and honors well deserved for all three of you, but I just said, sorry, I just saw your text, but I thought I'd jump in and quickly relay their messages.
Well done, thank you. Federal.
Now that I think I found my voice again, I just want to say once again to the other two recipients of awards tonight, thank you for your work. Thank you for your leadership. It's great working with individuals. Actually, when I look around, when I started, no one else was here, and many of you have come on lately. But I tell you, this is the best agency that you could work for. We have been accountable. We have been an agency that have delivered on the promises made. And it's so great to come to a place where we could look to our staff and know that the policies that we have put in place, all of the projects that we have put in place, they've delivered them on time and under budget in many cases. And so we have a lot to be thankful for when we work for a staff that, when we work with a staff that really makes things happen because they make us look very good along the way. So as I say, this has really been great for me to be a part of this agency, to be a part of other transportation agencies, because we know that that's the lifeline for all of our constituents, is to be able to have modes of transportation and be able to deliver people in a safe and very qualified way. So once again, thank you all. I'm humbled, very honored. New thank you for your comments. And it's been, like I say, really great partnering with you and working with you down through the years. So thank you.
Thank you again. Is there any public comments on this at this time? Terry Ann, do we have any public comments?
I do have a virtual comment from Commissioner Alternate Xavier, so I'm going to let her talk here.
I want to thank Federal, Dave, and Teresa for the many years of service to CCTA and all the other things that you have done. It's great knowing all of you, and someday I'll join you in retirement. Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or?
Oh, I had one.
Yes, please.
Yes, well, thank you to everybody, all three individuals who received an award today. And Teresa, one of my favorite people in the world. Thank you for your service, and Dave Hudson's gone, but we love him to death. But I wanted to, it is Black History Month, and it is important to note that Federal Glover is along with all the accolades that you described earlier. For many of us, we wouldn't be here without Federal Glover. I mean, literally, I would not be on this committee. And he had reached out to me about me and Holland participating here, and we got on, and I didn't know anything about CCTA, but he said, that's a very important commission you need to be on, especially as the mayor of Antioch, and so thank you for your encouragement. But beyond that, he was the first African-American to serve on the Contra Costa Board of Supervisors and continues to be the only African-American, having served East County for many, many, many years. And so thank you to you and all of your support over the years for folks like myself, Chanel, Monica Wilson, Holland, and many others. And so we appreciate you for that. It was not easy in Eastern Contra Costa County to be an African American and be elected to anything, and let alone represent Antioch on the Board of Supervisors. And so I share all that to say that the city of Antioch will be awarding Federal Glover the key to the city, its highest recognition, next week on Thursday. And so I'd like to invite all of you to participate if you can, and I'll send that information to Tim so he can forward it on to this board, because I think it's really important for what you've done in East County and for the leaders that you have helped develop over the years. So thank you for your work.
Well done. Thank you so much. Any other comments or any other virtual or written comments at this time?
No further public comment.
Okay, great. We're good to move on? Let's go. Okay, the next item is committee assignments for 2024. Currently, we have Vice Chair Hernandez Thorpe, Commissioners Fideli, Nowak, and Sauce, and myself assigned to the APC, Administration Projects Committee. Commissioners Carlson, Haskew, Kelly, Meadows, and Perkins are assigned to Planning Committee. And currently, no offense, Commissioner Glover is not assigned to either committee to ensure we don't have a quorum on any of these, and he deserves a little bit of a break. So with that, are there any requested changes or comments on these assignments? Seeing none, is there a motion and a second?
So, second?
Moved by Hernandez Thorpe, seconded. That was my moment of pause, I know. When I look that way, I see the two of you, and I get, okay, you are. Well, and if you sat on this side, I wouldn't be able to see her, let's be honest, so, okay. Now that's been moved and seconded, any further comment, any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Thank you. Then will you please call the roll, Terry?
Commissioner Carlson?
Aye.
Commissioner Fideli?
Aye.
Commissioner Gee?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskew?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Meadows?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes?
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez Thorpe?
Aye.
Chair Arnridge? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Terry Ann. All right, the next item is to appoint one authority board member to serve in the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plan Task Force, and this item will be presented by Rashida. Rashida, welcome. Nice job in the video, by the way. I didn't say that to all of you that got to participate. That was really well done, really well done. I think your microphone is not working.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, this item is about appointing a member of the board to the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plans Task Force Committee. As we just recently heard, Chair Geringer has retired, and so we are actually missing a spot. And so I'm going to make this very brief. I know we've had closed session and we have a much longer meeting, so if we can just get somebody to replace her, that'll be wonderful.
I would like to nominate my fellow West County comrade, Chris Kelly, who's always ready to step up and help this agency.
I'll second. She stopped me, and I didn't flap both ways.
Okay, it's been moved by Fidelity, seconded by Glover. Any further comments? Any public comments?
No public comment.
Seeing none, Terry, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carlson?
I only get to talk when we vote. Yes.
Commissioner Fideli?
Aye.
Commissioner Gee?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskew?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Meadows?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes?
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez Thorpe?
Aye.
Chair Arnridge?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And Chris, thank you very much. Yes, very much so. Thank you, Rashida. Well done. That was fast. All right. We don't have any presentations, so the next item is our consent calendar. And I will note that consent calendar item 11A for the approval of our 2024 regular meeting schedule to notate 3 changes to the schedule prior to approval. The Thornton Board meeting in June is moved to the 12th, which is the second Wednesday, due to June 19th as a holiday, as Juneteenth. The APC and PC meetings in July are moved to the 11th, the second Thursday, due to 4th of July being the first. And the Authority Board meeting in October is moved from the October 30th, the 5th Wednesday, due to the League of California Cities Conference, so we don't have a conflict. The second Wednesday and the 4th are not available due to advisory committee meetings. Are there any other changes? And does anybody want to pull an item? Tim, are we going to pull item? No, we're good. Is there anybody in our audience who would like to pull an item? Or any comments on any of those items? Terry Ann?
No public comment.
And this lady next to me wants to make a motion.
I definitely do.
Thank
I
you,
move
Luella.
to approve the.
Thank you, Luella.
Second.
It's been moved by Luella, seconded by Ken. No, it's Luella.
It's your first night. We got to put you to
First
the
name.
test, right?
We're going by first names. Trust me, you don't want to call Arner Rich out all the time. Seeing no further discussion, Terry, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carlson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fideli?
Aye.
Commissioner Gee?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskew?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Meadows?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez Thorpe?
Aye.
Chair Arnrich?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. All right, this will take us to our regular agenda items. The first item is from APC, is an action item presented by Lindy Johnson to approve our proposed 2024 state and federal legislative advocacy programs. Lindy, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Arnrich and Commissioners. I'm here to present our 2024 state and federal advocacy platforms and recommend your approval. They are available in front of you, and they're also on page 209 of the APC packet for the general public. To be cognizant of time, I'm just going to go over 1 or 2 items from each agenda, but please feel free to reach out to me if you'd have any interest in further conversation. One thing I'd like to highlight is under transportation funding levels, we do have as the first strategy a support of any constitutional amendment to lower the voting threshold requirement for special taxes on transportation projects. This will be particularly relevant this year given ACA 1, which will be on the ballot November 2024. I also want to mention the intention to monitor state and regional efforts to establish a new transportation revenue measure and advocate for equitable share for Contra Costa County. This will be particularly interesting this year as we will be monitoring a regional transportation measure as it develops through MTC. Thank you to both former Chair Federal Glover and Ms. Nowak, Commissioner Nowak, for her service on MTC as we kind of monitor that process. I also want to mention on the back, we have some new items that we've added this year related to connected and autonomous vehicle funding and policy. The bottom one is about supporting workforce development programs to incentivize career pathways, and that was an addition that we added this year, having a lot to do with our interest as an agency in workforce development around AVs, connected and shared vehicles. We also have right above that to monitor regulatory or legislative initiatives that could affect the conduct of pilot demonstrations. This is important as we've seen a lot of AV bills introduced this year in the state legislature, and certainly it'll be important that we monitor and have conversations with our state delegation about the impact of those to Contra Costa County and the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. On your federal legislative platform, I wanted to highlight 2 things. One is that there is, under the strategy for maximizing opportunities in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, an interest in continuing to seek and support federal solutions to resolve issues related to domestic manufacturing of autonomous vehicles, and to position CCTA as an expert witness for Congress for further conversations around these issues. Both of those are also supported by the ACES Coalition. I wanted to just sort of highlight the involvement of those in the platform. I also wanted to just mention that there is, under federal appropriations on the backside, an interest in really paying close attention to federal grants and continuing to support the continuation of those discretionary grant programs for which CCTA commonly applies. That's always a priority as we go to DC and as we continue to work with our federal delegation to see those programs continue to be supported. With that, does anyone have any questions regarding the state or federal policy platforms?
Thank you, Lindy. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, do we have, I'm sorry.
I would just like to move it if it's.
Oh, yeah, how about we, any
public comment.
comments from the public, either virtual? If it's virtual, please use your virtual raise hand, or raise your hand if you're here.
No public comment.
Great. Paul?
Then I so move the legislative package.
Second?
Moved by Paul, seconded by Sue. I'm going with first names.
We're getting cozy now.
Please call. It's a friendly group. And we always have a tendency actually to call staff by their first names.
right.
And somehow we go by our last names. Let's not be so, formal. Will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carlson,
Aye.
Commissioner Fideli,
Aye.
Commissioner G.
Aye.
I hope I'm saying that right. G?
G.
Okay. Commissioner Glover,
Yes.
Commissioner Haskew,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Meadows,
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak,
Yes?
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez Thorpe,
Aye.
Chair Arnrich.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
It's also, she's called Darlene, by the way, Darlene G. So
It hit me, I
we'll
think I
keep,
was
we'll stick
saying
it. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. All right, this will take us to our next item, and this will be presented by Hisham in seeking authorization to execute a funding agreement with Central Contra Costa Transit Authority, also known as County Connection, for the innovation deployments to enhance Arterials Grant Central Transit Signal Priority System. And welcome, Hisham.
Your mic.
All his service over the past many years on behalf of CCTA. I know I speak on behalf of CCTA staff, saying thank you for your leadership and looking out for Contra Costa. And congratulations, Chair Arnich. I just want to take a few minutes to give you a status updates on this project and explain how the item, the subscription cost to Swiftly fits into the overall picture. Let's see. Here we go. It moved. All right. So back in September 2021, we signed actually a cooperative agreement between all the partners you see on this project, both cities of Concord and Wallow Creek, who owns the traffic signals, County Connection, who operate the buses, and the project overall is funded by $1.1 million grant from MTC that was awarded to us. As a CCTA role on this project is to deploy the cloud-based transit signal priority, as well as manage the operations and maintenance for the next 3 years. The goal of the project is to improve transit travel time reliability. I just want to set the expectation here. Transit signal priority works unlike preemption, when you see a fire truck, the signal turns green. Priority basically works by when the signal sees the bus, it basically does one of two things, or one of the three things. Ignore the request if the traffic conditions don't allow it, or extend the green time by a few seconds to let the bus go through, or shorten the red time if the bus is already waiting at the signal. Basically, you save few seconds at every signal, but when you're running through 30, 40 signals, those few seconds add up to a few minutes. But their main goal is not just to save these few seconds, but to ensure that the bus travel time reliability is improved. when you do that and you do all the other things, to improve transit, deal with first and last mile, improve the safety and so on, hopefully all of that will help improve ridership and more people will take transit, which is really the ultimate goal. That will help the environment, and just want to mention this is a pilot project. We're testing it, and once it works, hopefully we can expand it to other routes and other cities as well. This is the study area. There are 36 intersections in Contra Costa where we're doing this along routes 20 and Route 15. And they connect to the Concord BART station. And in Walnut Creek, it's basically connects the downtown area to the BART station along Route 4 and 5. 31 intersections impacted in Walnut Creek. And you can see there are a few red dots here. These are the remaining intersections where we're doing testing, which is supposed to happen next Thursday on February 29th. TSP is not a new thing, as you know. The legacy systems required a lot of equipment. You put something on the bus, you put an equipment on the signal, and you use infrared and line of sight. Basically, when the signal sees the bus, it activates the priority requests. The problem with the old systems is they do require a lot of equipment. That's a lot of maintenance. They don't always work. They're either on or off. You cannot give priority. Sometimes you either give it or don't. And a lot of the vendors who supply this equipment are moving away from this legacy system. So when the equipment breaks, you just cannot replace it. The new technology is all cloud-based. That's the way basically to go. It does not require hardware on the bus or on the signal, but it does require your signals to be upgraded. Your controllers, the traffic controllers, the computers on the signals to be upgraded, because now you're sending standard messages and they need to be able to respond to it. I think I covered this. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip it. This is the architecture of the system. You have the software, which is called the Opticom system that's developed by GTT, which is now acquired by MyVision. That's our vendor. That system basically gets information from the bus using the modems that are already on the bus. That's how it gets the location information. And the transit feed data that goes into 511 and other locations, that's where they get the schedule information as well as occupancy. They do their calculations and then decide whether to send the request to the controller or not. They do that through basically the internet, through the city's traffic management system. Right now, we've done basically, as I mentioned, we have 66 intersections. We completed testing of functionality and the communication on 61 of them. There are like 4 or 5 left, which we'll be doing next week. What basically we tested, what we basically ensured that the signal is being sent by the software to the controller, that the controller was able to receive it and act on it. So that has been completed. We were able to do it. I mentioned earlier that legacy systems are on and off. Our project is unique. It's actually conditional TSP. Our focus really is to improve throughput. So if a bus is empty, and that the intersection is busy, you don't want to give it priority. Or if it's on time, maybe it does not need priority. So what we have is a conditional priority. It's based on schedule and occupancy. And right now we're finalizing the verification plan to ensure the system, when we turn on the system, before we accept it as a complete project, it's got to work with 99% reliability. That means like within 24 hours, cannot go down more than 15 minutes. So the next step, we're a little bit delayed by a couple of weeks. We have not yet turned the system on, but we anticipate to turn it on in mid-March, and then we will, if everything goes well in terms of the testing, we will accept the project a month from that date. And then we intend to do a before and after study to determine the actual benefits of the project. Once the system is operational, GTT or MyoVision now will be on board to help us with the operation and maintenance. So the project comes with 3-year warranty. And after that, we will, once the system is operational, we plan to have a public awareness campaign. And Swiftly is just one other data source that we can use that tell us basically more information on the bus. What's the journey time, how much the bus spent at the traffic signal, how much it spent at the stops, and finally, what's the actual travel time between one point to another. A lot of transit agencies use it to basically look at their on-time performance. It costs about $85,000 a year. We are asking you to contribute $20,000 for 1-year subscription because we need it for our project. And I mentioned the public awareness campaign. It'll involve a lot of things, as you can see in the slide. And in the interest of time, I'm going to skip over this slide, but there are a lot of lessons learned from implementing this project that probably I can share in the future. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Yes, Chris?
Thank you, Hisham, for that presentation. How did you collect the before data back in December 2023?
We actually had people sit on the bus.
Okay, and track how
track
fast
it.
it was going?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
track all the information, yes.
Empirical, very good. Yes.
So just more of curiosity, how does it integrate with Opticon in the sense of the emergency vehicles that use it in response? So how do they integrate?
So the Opticom system most cities have right now basically is equipment based. You have to have equipment on the fire truck and the signal, just like the current legacy TSP system. So that's still working, but the beauty about the system is you can, in the future, use it for preemption for fire trucks. And, you know, for example, if the vendor stopped supporting the equipment on the fire truck, now you have a way to still give them preemption using this system. So it is scalable. That's another advantage of the cloud-based system.
Right, but is it currently integrated? So who's going to get priority if a fire truck rolling red lights and...
Yeah, the preemption always gets priority. Preemption, fire truck reaches the intersection, it always gets the green. Basically, that's the first thing that happens.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, are there?
Nola, just a couple, quick comment, really quick.
Tim.
I think just this goes like, really I want to note that this is a great example of this digital manager role that we've been talking about in this CCTA kind of 4.0 realm in terms of, you know, kind of advancing the organization, taking on this role about operations, and, you know, this role, we didn't start this grant with the understanding that CCTA would be taking on this role. You know, we kind of assumed that someone else would take on this role, County Connection, the city, MTC, and as we went through the development of the concept of operations and through the roles and responsibilities, it was pretty clear that CCTA was the best organization to take on that role in really in collaboration with our partners. And so I think this is a really good example of us kind of stepping into the operational role. And other than obviously the Presto shuttle, this is probably the next operational role that we'll have. And I'm excited about it because I think this is a great example of kind of that digital management where we can leverage data, you know, cloud-based information to be able to manage the infrastructure, right, in a smarter way. So I think it's really, 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 really innovative, and I'm really excited that we're doing it and appreciate the continued support from the board.
Great, thank you, Tim. Any further comments from board members? Seeing none, we will go to any public comment virtually online. Please use your virtual raise hand feature or raise your hand if you're in the room. Terry?
No public comment.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved by Federal, seconded by Sue. Terry Ann, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fideli.
Aye.
Commissioner G,
Aye.
Commissioner Glover,
Yes.
Commissioner Haskew,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Meadows,
Aye.
Commissioner Noack,
Aye.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez Thorpe,
Aye.
Chair Arnrich.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And Hisham, thank you very much for this. We look forward to seeing the results in the future. All right, our next item is 13C. This is a new item, and it's going to be presented by none other than our Executive Director, Tim Hale, on connected vehicle and autonomous vehicle programs seeking approval to utilize fund exchange reserves, funds to support Gomentum Station, and seek input on the draft master cooperative agreement. Tim, it's all yours. We are still broadcasting. This just is a technical glitch we're having, waiting for the presentation to pop up on our screens. There it is. Perfect. All right, Tim.
Apologize for the delay there. So I'm here to really talk about and give you an update on what's happening with the Gomentum Station transition with AAA and our Redefining Mobility Connected Vehicle, Autonomous Vehicle program. And just as a friendly reminder, I think we all know why we created Gomentum Station. Really is to, create jobs, really kind of holding down the safety and improving safety on our corridors, really getting that Vision Zero goal, and then also focusing on sustainability. These are the technologies that are being tested at Gomentum Station, and this is not just a autonomous vehicle proving ground. There's lots of different technologies that are really being done versus research being done by UC Berkeley, zero emission type of drivetrains and powertrains that are being tested in research at Gomentum Station, as well as tier 2 suppliers such as LiDAR, camera, sensors, as well as commercial trucking and heavy duty and light duty type of vehicles. And through Gomentum Station, we've had a lot of success. We were the first agency to test a shared autonomous vehicle on public roads. We were the first agency to actually provide a fully shared autonomous vehicle for public service in the Bay Area. And we continue to deliver on these critical automated driving system grants with the continued delivery of Rossmore in the spring of this year, and then the Martinez County Hospital project in the middle part of this year, as well as the Innovate 680 Autonomous Connected Vehicle Program. And without Gomentum Station, we wouldn't be able to have this front row seat at the future, and so we leverage Gomentum Station in everything that we do, right? From Innovate 680 to the recently developed Dynamic Personal Microtransit project in Eastern Contra Costa County, using the Signal Lab to really understand how to better integrate our signals and create a truly smart connected system. And then just recently we received a state grant to really understand how we're going to demonstrate bus on shoulder in the Bay Area at Gomentum Station. For those of you, I know there's a lot of new members of the board, but this is at the Concord Naval Weapons Station. And as you all know, the Concord Web Station is currently being in the process of being developed with Brookfield as well as City of Concord. And so we currently use the facility throughout the entire 2,200 acres, primarily in the blue area in the top part of the corner there, as well as in Bunker City, which is more where the housing, the yellow and the green is. What's really understand is Gomentum Station is two things. It's the actual physical facility, the testing facilities, but also the program that goes on top of the facility. So the test bed is really the physical location, but the program can move around, right? It can expand and go to other parts of the county. It can go to other locations, and it can expand. You know, as we looked at Gomentum Station 2.0, it's really about expanding the program as well as expanding the testing facility. So currently, this is how we use the Naval Weapons Station. We have 12 different testing zones, urban downtown area, over 25 miles of roadway, over 40 intersections, and we are fully booked, as you all know that. This is what the facility looks like out there that we use, different types of zones, different types of facilities, different types of what we call operational design domains. And with the program continues to grow, right? We have the actual operations of the test bed, but also we have really make Gomentum Station really that testing and research facility that's really available not only to our partners, but to CCTA as well as our university partners, and then really creates that ecosystem of partnerships across the entire county, available for people. And for example, Caltrans. You know, Caltrans is actually going to start using our facility for testing. And so it's really exciting to see how our partnerships continue to grow, you know, through Gomentum Station. So just a little overview, Concord Weapons Station is owned by the United States Navy. It's obviously known going through the BRAC process, the base realignment and closure process. And the city of Concord basically has access to the Naval Weapons Station through what's called a master sublicense. And so through that master license, the city of Concord, as well as Contra Costa Transportation Authority, has a sublicense. Any entity wanting access to the Concord Weapons Station, it requires a sublicense. And so through an agreement with the city of Concord, an MOU, it provides us the access and defines the roles and responsibilities between the city and CCTA in order to implement the program at the Concord Weapons Station. And this MOU expires in May of this year, and we plan to bring it to the board sometime in April for renewal, and we're anticipating a 5-year renewal with the city of Concord. We recently, through a lot of history, and I won't bore you with the history details, but AAA has been our managing entity for quite some time, and we've been managing that relationship through what's called a master cooperative agreement. And this generally outlines our roles. Primarily, we manage the public sector side, and AAA manages and operates the facility as well as the private sector side. Just recently, back in September of last year, AAA informed the authority that they would like to exit the program and really start developing a transition plan. And so that plan includes identifying a new managing entity. The new managing entity that we've identified is Next Generation Mobility, and we are currently in the process of working with that new entity, as well as supporting them and the transition through helping to secure and support staff, supporting the transfer of agreements, contract administration, helping and supporting obtaining the Navy sublicenses, insurances, as well as providing and establishing the financial accounting. And then the new entity is actually in the process of obviously establishing its own financial accounting, as well as transitioning the commercial agreements with all the partners, vendors, and transferring all the assets and going the day-to-day. So this is really a temporary transition to really help support the transition of the activities from AAA to the new entity. And so through those transitions, we will need additional support cost, which is essentially $1 million to cover these transitional costs. We're requesting that the board consider approving an allocation of $1 million from the Fund Exchange Reserve. As you recall, the Fund Exchange Reserve has been there. It's actually very flexible funding to support grants, to support administrative costs. It's very, very flexible in terms of how we can use this funding. It's probably some of the most flexible funding we've had, and we basically create that program through actually being able to exchange state funding with local funds. And so, for example, on Iron Horse Trail, Bollinger Canyon, we took state funds and swapped them with local funds and exchanged them with local funds to allow that project to accelerate and be able to have a timely funding plan to be able to start construction. And so it's provided us a lot of opportunities to get projects going in a timely manner, but it also provides us a pot of money that gives us flexibility to support grants over the next, over a period of time. What's really important about this is that this is not a loan. This is not an investment. This is really just, we will be seeking reimbursement from the new managing entity on this $1 million as the new entity collects revenue from the partners over the in this near future. I expect that those funds will be paid back, to CCTA within the next 12 months, hopefully by the end of the year, depending on how the transition goes. So what will happen is once we get those agreements in place, we'll send them an invoice and they'll basically reimburse us for this allocation of funds. And the way we do that and kind of memorialize that is through a master cooperative agreement. So one of the things we have to do is really enter into a new master cooperative agreement, such as the one that we've had with AAA. It's a 5-year agreement. And generally, CCTA will own the program, will be provided priority access. The new entity will have the responsible day-to-day management and have the defined required documents. As I go into more detail here, we are seeking approval and consideration of the $1 million, but we're also seeking your input on the master cooperative agreement. And I want to outline some specific roles and responsibilities between CCTA and the new managing entity, Next Generation Mobility. So generally, as I mentioned, CCTA will be the facilitator for the program. We will serve as the point of contact with public agency partners, coordinate access to the testing facility, and also obtain any required permits for design construction activities as we look to expand Gomentum Station and also do pilot demonstration projects outside of Gomentum Station. The new role for the Next Generation Mobility, and we have had some lessons learned with AAA, is really making sure that the entity really is responsible for the coordination, the planning, and execution of the program in coordination with CCTA. And then also responsible for really managing the testing partners. The other important part of this is making sure that we have the financial consideration. So Next Generation Mobility would be responsible for any requests for reimbursement, such as the $1 million, for any support of the program, as well as they're responsible to make sure that the private sector objectives continue to align with CCTA's goals, as well as state and federal policy. So in the Master Cooperative Agreement, there's a number of required documents, a concept of operations, an annual operational safety plan, an annual budget, 5-year strategic plan, a master area plan, and quarterly reporting mainly for grant purposes. As we do submit grants with Gomentum Station and with the new managing entity, Next Generation Mobility, it'll be important to make sure we have the financial reporting for those grants to be able to fulfill reporting, financial commitments for local match, et cetera. And so as we look to the Master Cooperative Agreement, it has a two-way kind of exchange of funds. The Next Generation Mobility can request appropriations from CCTA, and likewise, CCTA can request appropriations, from Gomentum Station. So it's a two-way street. And then also obviously the reimbursement. And one new thing that we have in this cooperative agreement is revenue share, which was not in the previous. That's mainly to support staff time. Our typical burn rate is roughly right around $150,000 to $200,000 per year, and that has been funded by AAA in the past 5 years. And so, as I want a reminder, there's not a dollar of Measure J that really gets spent on Gomentum Station. It's all provided by funding by AAA and revenues from AAA. And so the required revenue share is basically minimum of $500,000 or 10% of the gross revenues to AAA or to CCTA annually. And we also added liquidated damages and more teeth to the agreement, so that way, if the new entity does not satisfy the requirements, such as some of the required documentation and reporting, there will be liquidated damages of $10,000 per day of the non-cured responsibilities. So today, I'm asking for your approval and consideration of the $1 million allocation to support transition activities and operations based on a reimbursement from the new managing entity, as well as any input that you may have or want to provide on the draft Master Cooperative Agreement. And that concludes my presentation.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for that. I would just add that there are also three of us on an ad hoc committee who have met extensively with us. Commissioner Sue Nowak, Chair Federal Glover, and myself. And we've also had individual meetings depending upon who was available to meet with some of the partners on this. And of course, our legal counsel, Moira, has been on this and has been crafting all of those agreements. So at this time, are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the public, either virtually? Please use your virtual raise hand feature or raise your hand if you're in the room. Terry?
No public comment.
Great. And now it's back before the board. Federal?
Yes, I would make the motion for this.
And I will second it.
It's been moved by Federal, seconded by Luella. Any further comments? Seeing none, Terry, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carlson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fideli?
Aye.
Commissioner G?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskew?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Meadows?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes?
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez Thorpe?
Aye.
Chair Arnrich?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you, Tim, and thank you to committee members that worked on this. And we also should, to be honest, we should say thank you to AAA for being a private partner with us over these years, and we do look forward to this new opportunity. So with that, this will take us to item number 14A. And this is going to be presented by Matt. This is approval to issuance of the annual Urban Limit Line policy advisory letter to local jurisdictions. Matt, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Arnrich. Good evening, committee, board members. Matt Kelly, Senior Transportation Planner with the Authority. I think I need to turn on my camera. Nope, it's on. All right. So normally this item is brought to you on consent. It's something we do annually. But because there's a lot of new members, we thought we'd bring it on the regular agenda and just very briefly tell you about the Urban Limit Line annual policy letter that we issue, and just a little background on the ULL and the growth management program that it is a main component of. There we go. So just a little history on the Urban Limit Line. Back in 1988, Measure C was implemented, and that imposed a sales tax for transportation. And the county followed that in 1990 by enacting Measure C that established what came to be known as the 65-35 ordinance that limited urban development to no more than 35% of the land in Contra Costa County, and that really preserved that other 65% for open space, agriculture, wetlands, parks, and really just non-urban uses. And you see that evidence of that all over the county. It also established an actual urban limit line, the first of which was established in the county, and that established the point beyond which any lands could be developed. So then in 2004, Measure J was passed by this agency, and that, as you know, established the sales tax through 2034. It also codified the ULL as a requirement under the growth management program and required that to be established in each jurisdiction in order to receive the 18% return to source funds from Measure J. So the county then passed their Measure L. It's a matter of CCTA and the county kind of keeping up with each other. That extended the 65-35 ordinance through 2026, and the county will be pursuing a re-uppance of that measure, I believe, in 2026. That required that the Board of Supervisors have a 4/5 vote and voter approval to expand the ULL by more than 30 acres. The 30 acres there is the key. It adopted a new ULL map, which you see on the right, or on the right. That is the county's ULL map, and established new review procedures for determining compliance with the ULL. So then Measure J, in advance of Measure J being implemented in 2009, the Growth Management Program really adopted that ULL policy, or was amended to adopt that ULL policy. The cities then were required to adopt a voter-approved urban limit line by April 2009. There were a couple of options there. Basically, the jurisdictions could either adopt the county's ULL, which 16 did, and also provided the option of a local voter-approved ULL. And 3 jurisdictions decided to go that route. Antioch, Pittsburgh, and San Ramon each have their own ULL. And together that forms the county's urban limit line, which is everything within that pinkish purple shading there on the map. So every year, in order to remind the jurisdictions what their responsibilities are under the ULL requirement, we issue a letter. We call it the Policy Advisory Letter, and that draft copy of that is in your packet. And basically, it spells out the process for which the local jurisdictions must go through when they are entertaining a new development that may be considered outside of the ULL, or may be considered in conflict with the ULL. So when a development comes up, or you know, any sort of LAFCO decision comes up that may encroach on the urban limit line, that jurisdiction may request an evaluation from the authority on their proposed action, and the authority then responds with an evaluation letter where we look at all the compliance issues. And here's what we're really looking at: that the development lies within the ULL, no problem. Does the proposed development involve a non-sequential, non-contiguous adjustment of 30 acres or less? Basically, you know, something 20 acres or so that's not on top of another previous adjustment. And it does not involve an extension or an expansion of urban services across the ULL boundary. You know, under Measure J, that's mostly focused on transportation services, but really in Measure C, it looked at police services, sewer, fire, all those different things that would have to be extended beyond those new boundaries. So that's really what the ULL policy is, and what the policy letter outlines, and what your local jurisdictions should be doing should you know, a development come across your desks that seeks to expand or encroach on the urban limit line. This does happen every year or so. We get a request from either a jurisdiction or the developer. We do allow them to come to this body and kind of plead their case, and at that point, staff, at the direction of the board, does issue an advisory letter. So that's really the process. I can certainly take any questions you might have. That's my presentation. Oh, there we go.
Matt, thank you for that. It was actually a good history lesson to get us all back to where we started and how we got here. Are there any questions from commissioners? Sue?
Was the letter supposed to be in this packet?
It's in the PC packet. I don't.
Oh, it's in the separate packet. Sorry,
Yeah, if you
that's where I
clicked on
missed
the
it.
secondary link.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's where I
if you
missed
do
it.
that line,
Sorry,
yeah.
thank you.
Extra clicks.
Thanks. Yep.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Just a comment. You know, there was a lot of conflict when the ULL first went into place, but I would tell you, I think it's one of the better things that we've ever done, and it's working well. So.
Yeah, it absolutely supported cities, and it made the playing field for all of our personal economic development opportunities more level. That instead of just building this one community that's just bleeding off to nowhere, it kind of gave us. And the other requirement wasn't really highlighted, is that the urban limit line was also based on facts, that there has to be at any point in time enough capacity within all of our general plans to meet all of our projections, both from MTC, ABAG, and that was part of it. And that's why it gets renewed every so often to verify that. So.
And just on that, the county does do a assessment of the urban limit line. They last did that in 2016 to verify that.
Right. So, okay, Tim.
Just a quick comment. I think something that I think people should realize is that the urban limit line and the growth management program is actually very revolutionary. I know it kind of sounds like kind of basic stuff, but it's actually very revolutionary. It was when the growth management program was designed and put together almost 35 years ago. It was the first in the state, and I believe it continues to be the first in the state that actually ties funding to the urban limit line. Most urban limit lines are essentially just a line on paper, and there's really no teeth. And I do when we're out there meeting with environmental stakeholders, they do provide a lot of credit relative to our growth management program and how really effective it has been. And so I think this is not too often we tend to not focus on the land use components of transportation. And so the growth management program is CCTA's way to really tie land use with transportation, which is critical because we have a lot of gaps in land use transportation in Contra Costa County. And so it's really important. And just as an FYI, I'm actually going to all the RTPCs. I've already been to Transplan and Transpac, but going to WICTAC on Friday. We'll be going to SWAT, I think, in a few weeks, maybe even next week. But to really really have a history lesson about the growth management program and the elements of it. And it's not just about the return to source, but it's also making sure that we're developing truly cohesive integrated transportation systems relative to the urban limit line, but also relative to your housing elements, your general plans. We also require the growth management program is actually why your cities are required to have a surface transportation mitigation program. Your cities are required to have a transportation demand management program. And there's a number of requirements in there because of the growth management program. And so what happens is the cities, because this requirement exists in the GMP, the cities essentially have relied on the regional transportation planning committees to implement a lot of the growth management program elements on behalf of the cities within that subregion, and it's part of our governance structure. It's how our structure works. It's how CCTA works. And I think it's important for everyone to realize that and know that because it's important that we maintain a lot of this institutional knowledge as we're moving into the future. And I think it's also, I've gotten a lot of comments too about the growth management program is great. A lot has changed in 35 years. And so there's been a lot of interest, I'll say, from other stakeholders in terms of modernizing our growth management program and something that we'll be looking at relative to the update of the countywide transportation plan. And if you may remember, some of you may remember this, but we did do kind of a basic, I'll say, modification and modernization of the GMP when we were going out for a measure in 2020. And so there were some adjustments to the GMP that we were proposing and had to codify in statute and through ordinance. So the GMP was actually an ordinance that is abided by CCTA. It's 88-02. And so it goes hand in hand with the authorization and ordinance of us having a sales tax, and it's 88-01. So just a quick history lesson. It's very important, very fundamental, and it's really, truly part of our governance structure.
Absolutely, a nexus between development and transportation, which there was none in the past. So, Tim, thank you for that. Matt, thank you. Seeing no further questions, we'll go to public. Are there any virtual public comments? If so, use your virtual raise hand feature and or raise your hand if you're in the room. Terry?
No public comment.
Okay. It's back before us. Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved by Federal, seconded by Aaron. Terry Ann, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carlson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidelli?
Aye.
Commissioner G?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskew?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Meadows?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez-Thorpe?
Aye.
Chair Arnrich?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you, Matt and Tim, thank you both. All right, this will take us to item number 14B, and this is going to be presented by Ying Smith, and this is seeking approval of the fiscal year 24-25 Transportation Fund for Clean Air, 40% fund expenditure plan. And is,
Thank you, Chair.
oh,
Good
virtual,
evening,
sorry.
Commissioners. Yes, thank you, and thank you for accommodating my schedule. Can everyone see my screen and hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So this item, as the chair indicated, is the Transportation Fund for Clean Air, or also known as TFCA. The authority board reviews and approves the TFCA expenditure plan every year. In the past, this item was typically on the consent agenda. This time, we'd like to take the opportunity to provide additional background on this funding source and how we have historically allocated funds. We also try to increase the transparency in this program to better inform and engage the public and stakeholders. Let me make sure. Okay, here we go. So first, we would like to just provide brief background on the TFCA 40% fund. The TFCA funds come from a $4 surcharge on motor vehicle registered within the Bay Area. The funds are divided into two parts. The regional fund, which accounts for 60% of the total revenue and is managed by the Air District. The 40% fund is passed to the designated administrating agency in each of the 9 counties in the Bay Area. This is the part that is administrated by CCTA. The law was first passed in 1991, and the authority began to administrate this program in 1992. The Air District annually updates the expenditure plan guidance and adopts policies. Here are the details of on the legislation that created this fund. The authority has been designated as the program manager and currently is called Administrating Agency for Contra Costa County. As the administrating agency, the authority has several responsibilities. There are like two slides full of the responsibilities. I just wanted to highlight the two on the list. First, the authority is required to review the policy and criteria regularly and update them through a public process. The authority approved the expenditure plan application, which is on the item today. This is item 3 on this list. This slide shows additional responsibilities that CCTA has. This is a typical annual schedule. The authority board takes 3 actions in a typical cycle. First, you adopt an expenditure plan in February. Then second, you will approve the agreement between the Air District in June, between the Air District and CCTA. And third, you typically approve the final project list at the October meeting. The items in bold letter, those are the mandated deadline by the Air District. So we want to go into a little bit more details of what we can use this fund for. The general description of the eligible project is transportation control measures in the Bay Area Clean Air Plan. Generally, there are 5 categories. First is the bicycle and pedestrian projects. This category includes infrastructure projects and programs like bike share. The second category is ride-sharing services. This one includes several project types. What we're very familiar with is the travel demand management projects. They fit into the ride-sharing category. The third one is first and last mile connections. Here we mean the transit services that connect short distance connection between mass transit hubs and commercial or employment centers. The fourth category is the vehicle and fuel-based projects. They include the zero emission fleet, as well as the EV charging stations. The last one, which is lesser known, is the telecommuting. That's the last category. All public agencies are considered eligible fund recipients. Other agencies will have to partner with an eligible fund recipient to advance a project. So back to the CCTA practice. Historically, we have done the fund allocation by a population and job formula to the 4 RTPCs. The TFC funds have been combined with Measure J Program 17, Commute Alternatives, to support the transportation demand management activities. TFC funds can be used for the TDM program expenses, staff time, and overhead costs, as long as the amounts meet the cost effectiveness threshold. This is list of the current TDM program activities in different categories, as in countywide programs or sub-regional programs. And the table is very busy, and I just want to kind of have some organization. So as we are reviewing our practices, we look for information from our peer agencies in other counties. Staff has received 5 input from 5 agencies, and plus Contra Costa County, those are the 6 largest counties in the Bay Area. This table shows each county's process and what kind of projects have been funded by TFC funds, and to answer the question whether those counties use TFC funds to fund the TDM programs. The comparison is not meant to say which agency is doing better. There's really no right or wrong answer here. The purpose of doing the peer comparison is to show that each county can adopt its own program to meet the local transportation needs, as well as to comply with the air district's policy and guidance. The TFC program has several eligibility and performance requirements. The first one is reduction of emissions. That's pretty straightforward. The second piece is the cost effectiveness threshold. This is a very data-driven process. The calculation is a data-driven process, and this tend to be the biggest factor in deciding whether a project is a good match for TFC funds. And third is to be consistent with existing plans and programs. Project readiness is another factor. Typically, this can be a restriction that makes TFC funds that is a little bit tricky to use for the project sponsors. And the fund also comes with the progress and final report requirements. So now back to the action in front of you. You are asked to review the expenditure plan and provide approval. The fund estimates are provided by the Air District. The total amount is $1.8 million, 41,290. And the total amount includes the new revenue, reconciled amount, as well as the funds from the reprogrammed project. And we have one this year. So the recommendation from staff is to approve the fiscal year 24-25 transportation fund for clean air 40% fund expenditure program. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Ying. Are there questions from or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Carlson.
It's funny, today at Air District, we talked about the efficiencies of the TFCA funds that we administer at the Air District, the 60%. So really the question comes down to, are we providing, because I would never expect us to do the math to calculate the impacts that these programs have, but are we providing them the data? When we asked the question today of, are we able to give it geographically, breakdowns by regions, they're not able to give us that, but they give us the numbers of the impacts we have for the 60% that we administer. And there's there's a lot of impacts there. I mean, 45 plus million tons of pollutants taken out based on this programming, 211 million VMT, 15,000 cars off the roads over the course of the year. So it'd be really nice if the Air District would provide us the information of the efficiencies of the programs that we're supporting. So the question really is, are we giving them whatever data they need to do the math to tell us the impacts we're having?
Yes, yes. So, for example, last October, when you approved the project list, you already approved the cost effectiveness calculation. And that's when we submit the projects. When the projects are completed, all the project sponsors are required to report on the actual numbers. So yes, we are able to provide the information they ask for on both on the county as a whole, as well as on the individual projects.
So they're feeding us that information. We can actually show.
We actually calculate it based on the methodology that's provided by the Air District.
They do provide it to you.
Yeah, so they provide the methodology, and then we do all the calculations, and then we send those calculations to Air District based on the cost effectiveness, and then that's how we're receiving the funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good question, Commissioner Carlson. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there anybody in our virtual audience who would like to ask a question or make a comment? Please use your virtual raise hand feature. And if you're in the room, please raise your hand. Terry Ann, do we have any?
No public comment.
Okay, seeing none. Is there a motion and a second?
I move it.
Commissioner Askew and Commissioner Glover second. Terry Ann, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carlson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fideli?
Aye.
Commissioner G?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskew?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Meadows?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez Thorpe?
Aye.
Chair Arnrich?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. And Ying, thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation here. All right, this will take us to item number 14C, and this is the audit of City of Richmond's paratransit financial and service delivery program, and this is going to be presented by Rashida. Rashida, welcome. And again, nice job on the interview.
Thank you,
for
Commissioner.
our video there.
Thank you, Chair Arnrich. Could everybody hear me? Hi, Ying.
Ying, you can turn your video off.
Thank you very much. So the item that I'm presenting today is the audit of the City of Richmond City's paratransit financial and service delivery. The Measure J Program 15, which is the countywide transportation services for seniors and people with disabilities, actually require that fund recipients like the City of Richmond and other transit agencies submit a claim so that the allocation funding may be provided to them. The Paratransit Coordinating Council, or the PCC, is the board body that actually approves those claims, and then it's forwarded to the authority board for final approval. In the past few years, the City of Richmond has actually, delayed or sometimes failed to submit their claims. In the 23-24 budget year, the City of Richmond submitted a claim that had several concerns. And so as a result, the subcommittee of the PCC recommended to the board that the claim actually be denied and that an audit of the services, both the paratransit delivery and the financial services, be audited. The PCC approved the denial or a rejection of the claim. In the latest meeting of the PCC, which is the January 22nd meeting, 2024, they actually approved that staff go ahead and conduct the audit using an auditing company, and this will be both an audit of the paratransit delivery service, the performance of the actual paratransit service, and also the financial implications. The PCC staff recommends to the authority board that the cost of the audit using a consulting firm be charged back to the Measure J claim funds that were previously allocated to the City of Richmond. And that amount is $32,000, not to exceed. As a result of the findings of the auditing firm, assuming that there is an approval, recommendations will be given to the City of Richmond's paratransit program for them to process or review the recommendations and move forward with those recommendations. The audit will take approximately 3 months to conduct. We expect a report of the audit. We expect periodic reviews of what the audit recommends with the City of Richmond. And based on those performance improvements, hopefully, a decision will be made about allocating the remainder of the funds to the City of Richmond. So the recommendation from staff is for, the recommendation is staff seeks Authority Board approval to fund the audit with Measure J program funds that were previously allocated to the city under Resolution 1216G in the amount not to exceed $32,000. And I'll be more than happy to take questions.
Rashida, thank you for that. Are there any questions from the commission on this item? Yes, Commissioner Fideli.
Yes, and I'm assuming that the paratransit services continue in Richmond during the process and even if there's an appeal afterwards?
That is correct.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Any other, yes, Executive Director Tim Hales.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I want to make sure this is really clear that we're not trying to be punitive here. Like, we're really trying to be supportive. You know, I think that Rashida has been doing a fantastic job. She's already been on site, you know, meeting with the staff, really trying to understand what is wrong, what is happening, right? Trying to be supportive, trying to support them in a way that in terms of training and education and really guiding them along the way. You know, like, I think, and we're finding that that is actually what's really needed is just education, you know? And so I think Rashida's really been doing a great job in terms of really approaching this in a way where let's learn together, let's collaborate, and let's make sure we've got a successful service coming out of this and not necessarily being really punitive on the City of Richmond.
Great, thank you for that clarification. And Rashida, thank you for your expertise to actually help guide the future in there. Again, any other questions or comments from commissioners? Seeing none, then we will go to our virtual audience. You can use the virtual raise hand feature if you want to make a comment, or if you're in the room, please raise your hand. Terry Ann, do we have any comments?
No public comment.
Seeing none?
I'll move the item, the staff recommendation to fund the audit of Measure J, Program 15.
And I'll second it.
Been moved by Commissioner Perkins, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Seeing no further comment? No, I've switched this whole time. We switched. I've been doing all last names, a little more formal. What's it feel like?
Just trying to make sure everyone's paying attention.
We need to move to nicknames.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
No. I got bad ones in my history, and it ruined me. Seeing no further comments, Terry Ann, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carlson?
Yes.
Aye.
Commissioner G?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskew?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Meadows?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez-Thorpe?
Aye.
Chair Arnrich?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank
Thank
you.
you.
And Rashida, thank you very much. All right, this will take us to our next item, just item number 15, under Communications Correspondence, and you can see the two letters that we have there. Item 16, associated committee reports, which are listed there from our 4 RTCPs. Authority, board and staff comments, chair's comments and reports. Thank you for electing me chair. And I just want to share, I rode BART today. I have not been on BART since pandemic. And I rode from San Francisco Airport on, obviously, all new cars, all new trains. It was on time. It was smooth. The automated system in the announcing, the door opening, closing is smoother than it used to be. And I got there in about 46 minutes. and I felt very safe the entire trip. And I used my phone by pointing my camera on top of even the old entry-exit devices, and it worked. And I went to a station agent because I wasn't quite sure. I've had this app for a long time, and she very, very clearly explained how it works, how to update and do all of that. So I just want to share that. It was a great experience today. So with that, Commissioner Chris Kelly, Commissioner Kelly.
Yeah, just real briefly. So Commissioner Haskew and I went to the CalCog Regional Leadership Forum down in Monterey about a week and a half ago. And that's the California Council of Governments. A lot of different agencies are represented there, CCTA, a number of others, a number of transportation professionals that we all recognize were there. I'm still looking at all the materials, but the main points of discussion were around things involving managed lanes. How do we stop the cheaters? HOT lanes are really, really popular. That's express lanes. Roadway pricing on maximizing our transportation system. The gas tax cliff, that's a real big one. Rural areas are, they've got induced demand. How do they deal with that in light of VMT? And there's a big VMT discussion, particularly at the end, with advice from representatives from DKS and from Fair and Peers. In addition, there's a lot of discussion over zero-emission vehicles. Where's the state and the feds on this in terms of expenses and infrastructure? And Lori Wilson, our own Lori Wilson, who is now the California State Assembly Transportation Chair, was there to answer questions. So it was a good meeting. I think we were well represented, and stay tuned.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. Any other comments? Commissioner Nowak?
I'll jump on the BART, well, not, it was just not solely BART. Yeah, the BART train, good point. No, I went to Cubic today, who runs Clipper, to see how all their new Clipper 2.0 and all their new gadgets are going to work. And I got to test out 6 of them, I think. Luckily, I didn't use my own Clipper card because they were actually charging whatever cards I was using. But using a Visa card and things like that, so I tested out on Golden Gate, Weta, Caltrain, I can't remember, but I tried them all. So that was really an interesting, and they're in Concord, so it was really easy to get to, which was really nice. And then tomorrow I meet with an assembly member in Marin to discuss the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge.
Thank you for that. Looking for that update.
Yes, that will be next meeting.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Nowak. Any further comments? Yes, Commissioner Glover.
Once again, I want to just thank this commission for the recognition this evening, but even more importantly, for allowing me to chair you in the last year. It's an honor to serve a commission such as the CCTA.
Thank you. All right, this will take us to our Executive Director report.
I'll make this quick. Just a couple quick updates. But first, before I get to those, I just want to thank Chair Glover for the leadership, as well as your counsel and your mentorship over the last year, and also really over the several years as I've been transitioning through CCTA as the deputy, now the executive director, and so really appreciate the leadership and your partnership as we've been going through this together. And it's been exciting to see the work that you've been doing come to life and come to fruition. And just, I think, just thinking about this, and Highway 4, the expansion of Highway 4 wouldn't have happened without your leadership. And so I think you came to CCTA with a goal, and you achieved that goal. And we were able to attract, hundreds of millions of dollars in leverage for a $1.2 billion investment in Highway 4. So I think it's really important to recognize that in your leadership. And so thank you very much, Federal. And I look forward to your chairmanship, Commissioner Armich, and working with you this year. We got some exciting work ahead of us, and I'm looking forward to the continued partnership and the support by you. And just on behalf of the staff, I really enjoy working with all of you. You guys are just a fantastic group of people and a fantastic board, and the staff enjoys it. I enjoy it. You make the work fun, and we really appreciate the support. And the staff is, we're here because of you and the fun that you bring to the work. So really appreciate that. And then just a couple updates. Gomentum Station. That's been pretty much all I've been thinking about for the last couple months. And just, we had a fantastic and hosted GoBiz here with a number of staff from Assemblymember Lori Wilson's office, Tim Grayson's office, as well as California Workforce Development Board, as well as the Contra Costa Workforce Development Board, as well as the Contra Costa Labor Council, University of Mineta Transportation Institute, as well as the UC Berkeley. And so it's been a great partnership. We are proposing to sign an MOU to form our California Innovation Alliance to be able to support the workforce development programs at Gomentum Station. So it was a fantastic workshop, and was really excited to see how everyone was coming together and focused on how we can keep those programs and develop those programs here in Contra Costa County. We also went to the Hill. Commissioner Armich and I went to the Hill to really meet with everyone, to really talk about that initiative, but also there's a lot of AV bills are being proposed and more to come in the upcoming months, but 2024 is a big year for AV, and those bills could potentially impact our delivery of our grants, our automated driving system grants, and so it's important to keep track of those. And then the other thing, just quick good news, but we did renegotiate our lease here on the authority board, so we did lower our rate. We actually got 7 months of free rent and also $600,000 of tenant improvements included in our lease. So again, thanks to the work with Brian and also Terry Ann in terms of the facility management and working with the broker to make this happen. And it just, again, we're just working to save money on a taxpayer money every single day here at CCTA. So thanks again for your leadership and appreciate the support.
Thank you, Tim, and to all our staff. An exciting year ahead again. There's never a dull moment in this. So with that, seeing no further business.
Chair Arnrich?
Oh, sorry,
If
yes.
I could,
Yes.
I know we are running long, but I would be remiss if I did not personally thank Federal Glover for your tireless efforts in expanding BART to Antioch. You really did help lead that effort with the authority. So I really want to thank everyone here, but especially to Federal. Congratulations on your retirement, and thank you for really helping extend a service that will be a legacy. So thank you.
Well said. With that, seeing no further business, meeting adjourned. You're out of order.